I hope you guys can share the next 30 minutes with me with Chai Chat. Grab your cup of tea. I have my fennel tea here, and fennel is a nice tea to help with adrenal stress. The licorice component can also help with preventing viruses and things from adhering to your throat and your sinus passages. So take a deep breath, have a cup of tea, take a few sips, and try to downregulate all of our anxiety with everything that's going on in our hometowns and in our communities and in the world. I know this is a very stressful time. We're all feeling panicked about what's happening to our communities, what's happening to our homes, what's happening to ourselves, our economic stress, our mental stress, our emotional stress. And at True Health and at Pure Compounding Pharmacy, we've been getting quite a few phone calls from a lot of you. And I just wanted to kind of share with some of you some of the answers that I've been telling people with, some of the major questions that our folks are having. So just to remind you guys, this is for educational purposes only. I'm not trying to give you medical advice. I am trying to kind of be here as a support to help us on our biomedical functional medicine journey, and maybe use some of the tools that we already know about, the tools that we've learned so well over the years, to kind of help us with prevention. And prevention right now, I think, is the key to what we can do to help our families and to help ourselves and help us all stay healthy. So today, I'm going to try to share my screen here with you. I need my technical support here. Deepak, could you help me here? So I am just going to go to my PowerPoint, and I hope you guys can see this. So the title of my PowerPoint today is How Not to Go Viral. And I'm just going to spend about 15 minutes here just talking about a few things with you guys. And then we'll open it up for question and answer. So how not to go viral and keeping our immune system healthy. So I know many of you have already, implemented kind of a self-quarantine type situation with social distancing. And I guess the term really shouldn't be social distancing, because we really still want to feel social. We are social beings, and we want to feel that we're connected to our families, our friends. And so we are going to call this physical distancing, and we need to maintain that kind of physical distance so we don't allow ourselves to get exposed to this very, very contagious virus. Many of us dealing with our kids with compromised immune systems, and a lot of our patients at True Health and a lot of our kids out there have PANS and PANDAS type issues. So we're already kind of used to, okay, let's try to avoid being exposed to strep, and let's try to avoid being exposed to other viruses. So I know a lot of you families out there are kind of experts at this concept of like physically distancing ourselves from other potential people who have infections and could spread infections. And again, our kids with their immune dysfunction and their gut issues and their other comorbid conditions are at a higher risk of, getting these types of illnesses. So remember, hand washing is our best bet here. Everybody's talking about hand washing for at least 60 seconds with soap. It's probably the best way to kind of prevent getting those viruses back into our body through our nose, our face, our mouth. So I know it's hard for some of our kids to avoid rubbing their face and their nose and their eyes, but it would be, try to get them to avoid doing that. Now, if you're out and about, make sure you use a hand sanitizer, especially when you're touching different types of objects and such. And so that hand sanitizer, remember, has to be greater than 60% alcohol. And there's some homemade recipes out there that have that 60% or higher level of alcohol. But I think that the hand washing is probably better for our patients anyway. When we're sneezing or coughing, remember, for us at least, I know it might be hard to teach our kids to do this, but sneezing into the elbow area and not, out in public. When you are out in public and you come back home, just remember to just, leave your shoes at the door, wash the clothes that you've been wearing, that you've been out. Remember, the viruses can be passed on to clothes. And the viruses can stay alive on kind of fomites or other objects like metal handles and things like that for quite a few hours. And it can also stay in the air. So wash those clothes when you get in the home. That's a really good thing to do. And avoid touching metallic surfaces and substances if you're out. And if you do that, use your hand sanitizers frequently. And if you, blow your nose or sneeze into a tissue, make sure you dispose of that. And I just wanted to just throw out there that, all of us are cognizant that we don't want to be in this state of panic and anxiety, and we really don't want to hoard items, and just use things judiciously. And just a reminder for that, because some of us have those OCD tendencies, I know. All right. So I don't know if you can see my screen. I'm not sure if you can or not. So I do have my PowerPoint on, but I'm going to have my technical support help me real quick to see if we can get that screen shared to you. All right. Sorry, guys. Thanks, Scott, for reminding me. So is that available? So my next screen was stress handling. So safety first, and then let's try to figure out how to handle our stress. I know a lot of you guys already have, an idea of what can be done to help with stress. And some of the things that, you guys already are so good at, but take a few minutes, just take those deep breaths, and things like meditation might be helpful, yoga. I've been going on YouTube and just looking at different exercise videos, and some of those exercise videos, even if they're 10 minutes, if you guys can just even take 10 or 15 minutes to exercise a little bit and do something to get your body moving. And I think we're still having these technical difficulties, but I'm just going to go through this anyway. So stress handling, deep breathing, meditation, and prayer. These things upregulate the vagus nerve. And we know that vagus nerve is really important for calming down that sympathetic nervous system. Remember, vagus runs our parasympathetic nervous system, and it helps us with rest and digest versus the fight and flight. And I can kind of already feel that we're all in that sense of fight and flight. And when that happens, our cortisol levels go up. And when our cortisol levels go up, our immune system kind of downregulates, and it makes us more prone to infection. So we want to keep those cortisol levels down. So humming, singing, take a walk, take an Epsom salts bath yourself. Epsom salts baths, good for our kids. Call your friends on the phone. Today I dressed up, I put a dress on, I put some makeup on, even, just to develop some normalcy back in our lives. Make sure you guys are sleeping. That's really important for getting that vagus nerve to be in a good cycle and get back on a good cycle of waking up and sleeping as well. I know there's so much fear out there. And one of the things that I read today about countering fear is to take a few minutes to think about gratitude. So we can think about all the things that we're afraid of. We're afraid of our kids getting sick. We're afraid of what's happening with the economy. We're afraid of getting toilet paper. But think about the things that you're grateful for. Like, you don't really need toilet paper. You can use water. You can use alcohol as a disinfectant. You have soap. You have friends. You have a support system. And so we're also all here in this together. We're all here to help each other. So think of the positives. Lately, I've been spending time with my kids, which I don't really get a chance to do. And so I'm grateful for that. We're playing games together, we're playing table tennis, and we really haven't been able to do that in years. So that's a positive thing. The other things we can do for stress handling is support those adrenals. And we talk about the tea, like the fennel tea, but also tulsi, which is holy basil. They make a really nice tulsi tea, which is great for adrenal support. You can diffuse some essential oils like chamomile. Roman chamomile would be a good one to kind of calm down that nervous system. Peace and calming, lemon balm, lavender, rosemary. These are all very calming type of essential oils that can just kind of help to kind of down regulate all of us. So diffusing those in the house might be a good idea. There are also some supplements that could be helpful for your adrenals. Supplements such as ginseng, ashwagandha, holy basil, phosphatidylserine can kind of all help to down regulate those adrenals a little bit, which we kind of all are feeling right now. So another thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was how to support the diet. So you have heard me talk about how it's really important for our immune system that we have a really healthy diet. And it's probably the number one treatment that I find in my patient population for helping them. The number two treatment I find is working on the gut. And I think they just kind of go hand in hand. And I just want to remind you guys all that 70% of our immune system kind of lies in our gut. All that lymphatic tissue, that is in our body, 70% of that lies in our gut. So keeping our gut healthy, keeping our diet clean can be really a good supportive measure right now. One of the things that I just want to remind you all about too is hydration. Hydration, hydration, hydration. That hydration, drinking water, keeps that mucus thin. And one of the issues with this particular virus that we can potentially face is that it creates a lot of mucus, and that mucus gets stuck in the lungs, and that makes the lungs, that mucus, that thick mucus makes it hard to breathe. So keeping that mucus thin can be really helpful. So drinking water, sipping water throughout the day. Again, sipping on your warm tea can help keep that mucus thin as well. You can put a little lemon or lime in that warm water and just, have you and your family members sip on water throughout the day. Remember to get all those fruits and veggies into your diet. The flavonoids can be really helpful right now. Lemons, oranges, grapefruits, and some flavonoids that we don't think about. Things like apples, legumes, berries. Also, these flavonoids are really good for our immune system. Teas, chai chat. So I don't know if any of you guys drink teas made out of medicinal mushrooms, but the mushrooms are very supportive for the immune system. So see if you can, if you have some, don't forget about them. If you can also order some of these types of things, and they have them in many of our health food stores. And I know, some stores are just, you can order things online from them as well. So that licorice root tea, that fennel tea that I'm drinking today, I mixed my fennel with some clove. And I really like clove because clove is also antimicrobial, not just anti-parasitic. It keeps that whole mouth area very clean and kind of a natural sanitizing agent. Don't forget to use spices in your cooking. I know my Indian friends out there use a lot of cumin and curcumin, turmeric root in their cooking. We use a lot of ginger and garlic. But some of you, with the other cultures out there, just kind of a reminder: throw in that oregano, throw in the thyme, use the ginger, use the curcumin in your cooking to kind of enhance and beef up your immune system a little bit. And then don't forget about our fermented foods. Remember that, some of our high histamine kids can't do a whole lot of these things, but even a little bit helps. And I find that like the high histamine kids can tolerate a little bit of yogurt. Kombucha might be a little bit more difficult for them. And the sauerkraut, just getting some sauerkraut and maybe kimchi in the diet right now can also be helpful. You can also kind of ferment your own cabbage. So the next piece of this, in terms of safety, stress handling, diet, the next piece I want to cover is immune support. So our basics, I call them the foundational piece. And this foundational piece is our vitamin C, our vitamin A, our vitamin D, and our zinc, and a probiotic. So especially right now, make sure you're taking your vitamin D. Make sure you're taking your zinc. Many of you guys know sometimes I prescribe something called a high dose vitamin A protocol for my patients, and that vitamin A, on a regular basis, low doses. Vitamin A and vitamin D, remember, are fat soluble vitamins, and you can overdo them. They can get stored, so you have to be careful with them. So we don't want to do high doses for long periods of time. So again, don't forget about those kind of basic foundational pieces. The next piece I want to kind of go over are some potential preventative measures for preventing viruses from kind of adhering to our mucous membranes. And so we don't want viruses to get into our system. And I'm not specifically talking about COVID-19. I'm talking about viruses in general. So you guys know that there's no specific treatment for COVID-19 that's been out there. I know that hospitals and researchers are looking very diligently to try to find some treatments that could cure this. But right now, we don't have a specific treatment. But we do have things that could prevent it from, even being an issue. So think about the things that we can do for prevention. So some of the things that we can do, and on my Facebook page, Doc Usman Singh, I posted a few papers on some of these things that I'm going to talk to you guys about. So one of the items is a supplement called quercetin. And quercetin we use as a mast cell stabilizer. And you might ask, well, why is quercetin potentially helpful in this? Well, one of the potential reasons that these mast cell stabilizers might be helpful is because these viruses create a lot of inflammation. And the fancy term for that is a cytokine storm. And with the cytokine storm, a lot of these pro-inflammatory cytokines are being released, and those pro-inflammatory cells create what we call mast cell activation. They also create microglial activation in certain individuals, and that would manifest as, in our patients, would manifest as neuroinflammation. So quercetin kind of can help prevent that and calm that down. So that's a potential preventative measure. Another really nice one is a lot of my patients are on melatonin for sleep. But just to remind you guys that melatonin not only helps with sleep, it's a great antioxidant. It's a great anti-inflammatory in the brain. There's more melatonin in the mitochondria than there is in the brain. But it's also potentially antiviral. So don't forget about that melatonin as well. Other things that can be that have been shown to help the immune system, a supplement known as angiographis can be helpful as well. Licorice root, we talked about how licorice has some antiviral qualities and helps prevent adhesion of viruses in the mucosal area. Other anti-inflammatories like skullcap and bacopa can be helpful. An antimicrobial herb known as Hoodiana I hope I pronounced that right. It's hard to pronounce. Another herb, Artemisia, is known to help with things like parasites and malaria. So that one might be also potentially preventative. There are nasal sprays that, again, can prevent carrying of different bacteria and viruses in the nose. Zicam nasal spray can be one of those, and xylitol nasal spray. And I talk a lot about xylitol as a helpful nasal spray for things like strep. So we want to keep our families healthy. Colloidal silver might also be helpful at this time. I don't like to use silver for long periods of time, but again, for short periods, 10 days to 14 days in the nose and the throat can also prevent carriage of different organisms. Homeopathics can also be potentially helpful. Homeopathic oxalococcinum can help with the flu, and different homeopathics can help with different symptoms of flu, like arsenicum as well can help with the flu. So don't forget about those. And then lately, in my home, I've been using a lot of thieves oil. Thieves is a combination of cinnamon, clove, and tea tree oil. And we use it in our house to kind of wipe down counters. We use it as our cleaning up our hands. We breathe it in as well, just to kind of keep that load out of our mucosa. So I hope some of these ideas, how do I get back to my screen? I hope some of these ideas were a little bit helpful for you guys. And I know some of you, have a lot of questions. So if you have some questions, I'd love to try to help you answer some of those. Again, I can't give you specific medical advice, but I can kind of answer any questions that you have, like in general. I just kind of wanted to remind you about the office. We're not seeing patients in person, but we are doing telemedicine conferences, and we've set up some ways of doing that. So if you need specific help, give us a call, and Julie, Margaret, and I are happy to help you out. The other thing I wanted to remind you all is that Pure Compounding Pharmacy also is requesting people not to come by, but if you need anything, we're happy to ship it to you, and we'll be happy to try to get that to you. And so just wanted to remind you about that. And so I see some of you guys are here with me, and Jill is reminding me to tell you guys about if you have a sauna in your home. Sauna is also potentially great for helping clear viruses from our body. So don't forget about the use of sauna as well. Any other questions any of you guys have that you'd like me to try to help answer? I know a lot of us feel like we're getting information overload right now from all sorts of places, from the media. And I know those of you who are online with me are very well educated and are on top of these things. So if there's no questions, I can just leave it at that. And here we go. Everybody's starting to get up on that. Any natural nebulizing treatments? Wow. The thing with nebulizing things is that I definitely wouldn't nebulize essential oils. That's kind of like that. The oils in those can get stuck in the lungs. You can diffuse those oils, but don't nebulize them. I don't know about nebulizing colloidal silver. I wish I knew the answer to that. There probably is somebody out there who knows the answer to that. I have nebulized things like glutathione. I have nebulized sterile NAC, N-acetylcysteine. You can't just put your supplement in a nebulizer and nebulize that either. Whatever you nebulize has to be sterile. The ketone ampules in the glass vials, those are sterile. So you could potentially nebulize ketone, and you can potentially nebulize hypertonic saline that is sterile. So Can we give melatonin to elderly members of our family? Yes, you can give melatonin to pretty much all age groups. Um, what is a sauna? Sauna is SAUNA. It could be a far infrared sauna or um, just a regular sauna that helps to kind of heat up the body. We have a lot of folks out there from all over the world. We have patients from India, Dubai, people all over the world listening in on this. So yeah, sorry about the terminology. Um, some people are mentioning that one of the early signs of this virus can be lack or loss of sense of smell and taste. Um, Susan's telling us that, and I haven't heard that, but I know, Susan, that you work in a field where smell is really important, and so thank you for that information. Some people, one person asked about what are my thoughts on elderberry. I know that Dr. Buhner has some information, and he is asking people not to take elderberry out of context of what he is talking about. He is recommending that we not necessarily use elderberry syrup or juice, but the elderberry plant as kind of a preventative thing here. And the other point I want to make for you guys is that, again, we're talking about prevention. We're not talking about treating. And the other point is that I don't want you to have a false sense of security because you do these types of things that you can just go out there and still expose yourself. That's not the goal here. The goal is to keep us still kind of socially or physically distanced and healthy at the same time. So I think we are out of time. If you guys have any specific questions further with this, please, I'll be happy. Contact my office. I'll be happy to return your phone call and answer your questions. Take care of yourselves. I would like to thank True Health Naturals for sponsoring this, but I just want you guys all to know that you all are in my thoughts. You're all in our prayers. We're all a community together, and we just want to support one another and help each other out during this time. So I appreciate all of you guys being here with me, and I send my love out to all of you. Thank you.